Hola clase. Today is a quick tutorial on tener expressions. Now, we're actually building on what you already know. You've had tener expressions last year. You had a couple more, maybe even this year. So we're going to go over the ones you know. We're going to learn 2 new ones today, and then you'll get a couple more tomorrow or the next day. Tener expressions can be tricky because tener, we know, means to have, but these don't translate as have. So that's where the tricky part comes in. Let's look at ones you already know. So here we have tener años. Now, tener años you learned way long ago when you were back in Spanish 1, and you learned that this meant to be so many years old. Now, we see to be, but tener means to have, and that's where it was tricky. We had to remember that this was an expression that used tener, not ser or estar. Then, when you were doing food, you learned tener hambre, which means, do you remember? To be hungry. So again, we see to be, and we're thinking, oh, is that ser? Is that estar? It's neither. It's tener. So it doesn't translate exactly. It just, that's the expression, to be hungry, tener hambre. And then tener sed went along with it. I think you got this one, to be thirsty. Good. And so we're using tener instead of a to be verb because it's a tener expression. So those were the 3 that you were practicing with so far. So all you had to do for these, it was very simple. You just had to choose one of your conjugations of tener and plop in the other parts. So let's try a couple together and you'll be able to try in the Edpuzzle. So we are hungry. So first you had to remember which tener expression this was. So think, which one was it? Oh, it was tener hambre. Then you had to take tener and conjugate it for your subject, and then plop in the other part. So why don't you try right now, and the question will pop up, and see if you can do we are hungry. So if you wrote, let me move this over, nosotros tenemos hambre, you are correct. And the nosotros is optional. You don't have to have nosotros, but it's totally good to put it there as well. So nosotros tenemos hambre. We just conjugated tener for our subject. Let's try this next one, but it's tricky. It has a no, it has a negative in it. So where are you going to make it negative? So let's think. First step, what's the tener expression? It is tener sed. So let's conjugate tener for our subject and then make it all negative. So the question will pop up. See if you can do it. So what I do here is I have ellos for they, and then tienen sed is what I want for, I want to conjugate tener for ellos, so that's tienen, and sed is my thirsty. To get my negative, I put it right in front of the verb. Ellos no tienen sed. They are not thirsty, or they aren't thirsty. And the last one, I think you have this one down. So you are 15 years old. So remember what tener expression that was? Right, tener, number plus años. So let's see if you can write this sentence. So what I need to do is I conjugate tener for you, tienes, you can put the 2 in there, tienes, and then my number, 15 años. So your 2 new tener expressions are tener frío, which means to be cold. Oops, come on back here. And tener calor, which means to be hot. And this is all temperature. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm so cold," can you turn up the heat? Or "I am so hot in this classroom." So that's what we're using these for. So tener frío, to be cold, and tener calor, to be hot. And again, we're using to be, but we're not using ser or estar, we're using tener. So same situation. We're going to conjugate tener for our subject and plop in the rest of it. So let's take a look here. She is cold. I am cold too. So I'm just going to say ella tiene frío. Yo tengo frío también. Oh, I don't have my accents on. So as you can see, the yo is optional. You can simply say tengo frío también. So I'm conjugating tener for my subject and I'm putting in frío. Now I can actually advance my sentence a little bit. Take a look here. She wears a scarf when she is cold. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the connector word when, which is cuando. Now that's also a question word, but we can use it to connect two sentences. So ella lleva una bufanda cuando tiene frío. That's it. And you don't have to make frío match her. It's not an adjective in that sense. You're using with tener. So frío would be for masculine or feminine. So you can make a longer sentence, and that's what you'll be doing in our practice today. So she wears a scarf when she is cold. Coming over here to, oh my goodness, you're so sweaty, you're so hot. So tienes calor. You are hot. I took tener, conjugated it for you, set, threw in calor. I can do the same thing with my sentence. Move you on down here. I can make it, more complex. I can say you wear shorts. So tú, you can put tú, or you can start with llevas. Pantalones cortos. Cuando, I'm going to run out of room. Tienes calor. Come on over. So I just connected my two parts with cuando. You wear shorts when you are hot. Calor. So your practice today will kind of have you talking about what you wear when you're frío or calor. You're also going to be talking about your estaciones, your seasons. Now, I know you had this last year, so it's kind of a review, but we're connecting it to clothing. So we have verano, so you can repeat these. Verano. Verano is summer. So you would say something like, llevo una camiseta cuando es verano, when it is summer. Repite clase, otoño. Otoño, that's fall or autumn. And you could say, llevo un suéter cuando es otoño. Now, there's lots of ways to set up these sentences, but this is just one way to make a more complex sentence. Now, it's really cute how students like to combine verano and invierno and make this weird hybrid word. So do practice invierno. Invierno is winter. So you could say something like, yo llevo una chaqueta, unas botas cuando es invierno. And primavera, up here, spring, primavera. An example might be, yo llevo, well, guys, una falda o un vestido o una camisa cuando es primavera. So those are your just some practice, some options. Please complete the practice worksheet. There's only 6 questions to answer on it. And have un día fabuloso. Hasta luego.